Good morning, students. Welcome back. Yesterday we began with a new chapter, tertiary sector. Tertiary sector, chapter number 9, and in the old book it is chapter number 7. We saw the introduction of the tertiary sector, what the tertiary sector or service sector is, what are the examples of tertiary sector or service sector, and then we began with the topic importance of tertiary sector or the role of tertiary sector in the growth and the development of any economy. See, tertiary sector plays a very pivotal role, very important role in the development of an economy. The socio-economic development can only take place when, along with primary and secondary, tertiary sector takes an active part. When I say active part, I mean to say the bigger role has to be played by tertiary sector. Near about 30% of the population, 30% of the working population is engaged in tertiary sector. As far as primary and secondary sectors are concerned, sometimes they create a disguised unemployment. Now, disguised unemployment is a situation of unemployment wherein more number of people work than actually required. Now, that is due to why the disguised unemployment takes place. That is due to people do not have a suitable job. So, in that case, they either migrate to service sector or they remain unemployed. So, service sector here holds all the unused population or all those part of the population which is not engaged anywhere, they become a part of the tertiary sector. During the rainy season, when the farmers remain empty, when they do not have any sort of work, they are engaged in the tertiary sector. Service sector, they provide these services. So, service sector is basically about the providing of or delivering of services. The services which are delivered by a teacher, by a lawyer, by a chartered accountant, by a engineer, these are the service sectors. Communication, banking, transportation, hospitalization, health facilities, these are the basic features of the service sector. These service sectors provide the services in the form of health, in the form of education, in the form of hospitalization. Different sorts of services are provided by the service sector's agents. So, what I was telling, when the people remain unemployed during a particular part of the season, that is seasonally unemployed, those people are captivated, those people are occupied by the service sector. The service sector basically plays an important role when the other two sectors lack in giving jobs, giving employment, this sector holds them. As far as our national income is concerned, as far as the GDP growth is concerned, this sector plays a crucial role in the upliftment of the economy. GDP is known to be the health indicator of an economy. Health indicator of an economy is GDP, gross domestic product. Gross domestic product, these are the terms we are going to use in this. So, before we come across the term, we will just highlight of the term, what it means actually. GDP, as I told you, is the health indicator of an economy. So, GDP stands for gross domestic product. All the products which are produced within the boundary of the country in a financial year is gross domestic product. All the products which are produced or all the services which are delivered within the boundary of the country is termed as gross domestic product. Whereas national income is the sum total of income which is earned in the form of factor income. Now, what is factor income? That you need to understand. What is factor income? See, these are broader terms which, when you move to class 11, 12, will come across numerical problems of this. Factor income or factor earning. We have 4 factors of production. This is a part of class 10. So, 4 factors of production which you need to know. Means all these 4 factors help in the production of goods and services. The first is land. The second is labor. The third is capital. Entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship. These are four factors of cash: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, or even we call it as entrepreneurship. Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. What we get out of these is our factor income. What we get out of these is our factor income. So, yeah, we are discussing about the factor incomes. So, four factors of production are there: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Out, when we have land, we get a rent out of it. As a labor, we are paid with wages. We are paid with wages. When we invest capital, we receive interest on that. And as far as the human part is concerned, entrepreneurship, we get either the profit or the loss. Entrepreneurs are basically the person who takes the initiative of setting a business, or who is the brainchild of any business is known to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is the brainchild of any business. The person who takes the initiative of starting a business is known to be an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurships basically get either profit, or in some cases they will face loss. So these are the factor incomes which are earned when we add up these factor incomes total: rent, wages, interest, profit. This becomes factor income, or it is a part of national income. So national income is the sum total of factor income. This is what you need to know now. Factor income is basically the sum total of national income is the sum total of all the factor incomes which is earned within the boundary of a country. When we earn it in our own country, within the boundary of the country, that is our factor income. The next point, or next topic would be importance of tertiary sector. Importance of tertiary sector, or the role of tertiary sector. The questions are even asked, what is the role of tertiary sector? In spite of putting it on importance of tertiary sector, they even put it on role of tertiary sector. So do not get confused. The first and foremost point is contribution to national income. The service sector contributes to national income. The graph is very clearly shown over here. Different sectors are here: primary, secondary, and service sector. You can see in the year 1950-51, the contribution of service sector was 24.5, which rose to 51% in the year 2013 and 14. If you see the growth rate, how it has grown, you'll find that the service sector has grown substantially better than the other two sectors. There is a drastic fall in the primary sector. Primary sector has fallen down. Its growth is going down and down. So retardation is there, but as far as service sector is concerned, it is flying with high colors. So it contributes to the national income. The second is contribution to employment. I told you nearly about 30%. 30% of the working population is directly or indirectly engaged in the service sector. People over here are engaged directly or indirectly in the form of service sector. Means we are delivering the services. The 30% of the working population is engaged in the delivery of services. The services, be it in the manner of engineering, be it in the manner of a banking personnel, be it in the manner of a teacher, a lawyer, a chartered accountant, all the people are engaged in the delivery of services. The four basic modes of communications: road transport, rail transport, air transport, and water transport. All of them are engaged in the delivery of services. Communication channel is there, and you have transporting channel, you have banking channel, you have a hospitalization channel, you have healthcare channels. These all are endeavored towards the delivery of services. The next is development of primary and secondary. I told you in India we have a seasonal unemployment. Seasonal unemployment. Seasonal seasonal unemployment. It is basically that type of unemployment wherein people are engaged for a particular season only. Before we understand the point, development of primary and secondary sector, it is important to understand this term, seasonal unemployment, wherein people are engaged for a particular season of the year only. The rest of the year, they remain unemployed. Now, this sort of unemployment is basically seen in the agricultural sector, where the people are engaged for a particular part of the year only, that is during the monsoon season. They remain engaged, they remain employed, and rest of the year they are unemployed. So seasonal unemployment is basically a situation wherein the people are engaged for a particular part of the year. Now, understand the other side of this concept. When the people remain unemployed, where are they engaged? Either they become a part of disguised unemployment. Disguised unemployment is a situation wherein more number of people are engaged than actually required. I told you the second term, disguised unemployment. Disguised unemployment is, the term is disguised. Disguised unemployment. Disguised unemployment is a situation wherein more number of people are engaged than actually required. If 5 people can rear a field, there are 7 people are engaged. The 2 more extra people are engaged because they are a part of disguised unemployment, or they do not have a particular job, they do not have a particular employment. That is why they are engaged. So those 2 people can be captivated, those 2 people can be engaged into some other sector, and during that time the service sector plays a prominent role in engaging such part of the population which are a part of disguised unemployment or which are part of the seasonal unemployment. So the development of primary and secondary sector is basically, primary and secondary sector can only develop when the service sector plays a prominent or the active role. For the high standard of living, see, a standard of living is measured by the services that one uses, or one is inclined toward the uses of different values, different services. Now, how do you measure a person's growth rate? If he has a good car, if he has a good standard of living, if he owns a good house, if he spends his income in different parts of his life on a very lavish basis. So, if he is spending, if he is a health-wise very positive person, if he remains in a very stable condition with all the hygienic conditions, if he maintains himself, we tell him that we refer him as such person maintains a good standard of living. So standard of living basically depends upon the income earning capacity of an individual. If a person earns good income, he will maintain a good standard. It's all upon the earning capacity or earning ratio which determines the standard of living of an individual. So service sector is basically involved in generating income for the persons who are engaged in particular sector. When the income is generated, when the persons who are engaged they generate income, their standard of living actually improves and they live a better standard of living. Means all the developed social infrastructures are maintained. Point is, a well-developed social infrastructure symbolizes a good quality of life of the people, which in turn improves the efficiency of ability to work. When your infrastructure is well-balanced one, when you are energetic, when you are stable, when you are healthy, you can deliver your efficiency in a much better way. Next is, reduces regional disparities. The disparity is basically the difference between the rich and the poor, have and have-nots, towns and villages, urban and the rural. There is a big gap between these two. So, the service sector plays a prominent role in the reduction of this gap. The regional disparity gap. This should be reduced. This can only be reduced when the people are engaged, when they get a good handsome income, when their standard of living is improved, then only this difference can be reduced. Regional disparities refer to inequality of economic growth and level of per capita income. Per capita income is the income of the person or the individual which he generates from different sources. Per capita income is the income of an individual which he generates from different sources. It is calculated upon the total population. Income earned by total persons upon the total population. Last thing, rural development. Rural development. See, the heart of India resides in the village. The heart of India resides in village. When I say this, Jawaharlal Nehru used to quote a term. If you want to see the real growth rate, if you want to see the real growth of the country, you will have to target, you will have to put the effort to grow the village first. Because the real India resides in village. Major part of the population resides in village. If the village is grown, if the growth is seen in the village, that means the village, the growth rate has reached the upper level even, or even to the metro cities. The service sector, when it lays down different factories, when it lays down different services to people, it actually gives them a good growth. Now, growth in terms of the individual capacity to develop and overall socio-economic conditions of the economy is progressed. When the socio-economic conditions is targeted, that means the growth of the society is targeted. So, when the society grows, the overall aura of the society or overall aura of the country develops. Now, when I say overall aura, means a growth can only take place when the village grows. The village can only take the growth when the service sector is engaged towards the delivering of services to the rural areas or to the village areas. It does not only consider the delivering of services, moreover, it is concerned towards employing the major chunk of population, major chunk part of the population from the village areas or the remote areas. So we'll put a stop over here. Tomorrow we can see the dependence of each sector on the other, or primary on the secondary, secondary on the tertiary, tertiary on the primary. What is the interdependence or interlinkages between these industries? If you have any doubts, then put up your doubts. Thank you, class.